Hello goons and gals, Doug here with the Born a Goon channel, and I would like to welcome you to today's video where we will discuss the ever so controversial KTM Demo mode that's available on all brand new 2023 890 Adventure Rs. I say that it's controversial and unprecedented because this demo mode that's offered from KTM includes software that's already pre-built on the motorcycle from the factory. Then when you buy it, it's activated by the dealership and you are free to use this software on the bike for the first 930 miles or 1,500 kilometers. Once you've reached that threshold, these software features are immediately disabled, taken back from you, and then held hostage by the software gremlins of Austria until you pay a ransom of roughly 800 United States dollars or so to have them put back on your bike. In my recent video about the most anticipated adventure bikes of 2023, my comment section blew up with angry rider frustration over KTM's questionable business practices. Riders have gone as far as to threaten to put KTMs on the chopping block for good and never buy them again, and that's understandable. But is this as bad as we think it is? Are we overreacting here, or are we not angry enough about it? On such an emotionally charged topic like this, it's hard to discuss this matter without ruffling a few feathers, but I'm going to try to do it anyway. So rather than acting out on my emotions and spewing out my personal opinion about this matter like many other YouTubers have already done, and I appreciate that, I wanted to try something a little different. I wanted to compile a series of facts that I obtained from talking to people at KTM, like the public relations department, the sales department, the research and development department, the technological department, and even the customer service department. I wanted to take those facts and then present them to you in this video and allow you, the viewer, to decide if you think this is cool or not. So this video isn't here to change anyone's mind or share my personal opinion. If you stand firmly on one side of the fence, stay standing there. But for those of you that are in the middle about this subject, or want some clarity in a very murky situation, I'm going to try to do my best to provide that to you. And towards the end of this video, I want to share with you a very sweet tip I got from KTM that I think will be beneficial for all of us. But before I start, I want you to know while the motorcycling community stands divided on this questionable subject, I want you to understand that there is no division here at the House of the Goon. Consider the Born a Goon channel like the Continental Hotel in the movie John Wick. It's neutral grounds for all motorcycle lovers. No matter what your opinions are, no matter how, where, and what you ride, everyone is welcome at the House of the Goon. So subscribe to the channel and bring it! So here are the facts. As mentioned before, when you purchase a 2023 version of the KTM 890 Adventure R, it comes pre-programmed with a demo mode that KTM also refers to as a tech pack. And in this pack, it includes a series of software enhancements. That includes cruise control, an MSR mode, which stands for motor slip regulation, which just so happens to be a fancy description for a slipper clutch. You also get a quick shifter plus, and I'm guessing that the plus sign means that you can use your quick shifter for both up and down shifts. You also get a rally pack that includes a rally mode that's designed for the hardcore off-road adventure rider, a traction control spin adjuster with 9 stages of adjustment, engine mapping adjustments that will allow you to adjust the throttle response of the bike, and an ABS mode that can be selected individually for off-road and on-road applications. So in a quick recap, this software is already installed on the bike by KTM when it is built from the factory. Then it is activated by your dealer when you purchase the bike. And once you've reached these mileage thresholds, the software enhancements are immediately disabled. From there, you have to take your bike back to the dealership and pay them roughly 800 United States dollars to get them installed back onto your bike, or you can individually purchase the software enhancements that you want. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later. Now, trying a particular service on a trial before committing to buying it is not a new business practice. In fact, it sounds pretty good. You're giving me the opportunity to test all of these services, then choose at the end of a trial period, which is based on mileage, not a specific calendar date, And at the end of this trial period, me, the customer, has the luxury to choose whether I want to keep these software enhancements or not, and I also can choose just those software enhancements that I would like and disregard the rest of them. So what's the big deal then? What seems to be rubbing people the wrong way first and foremost is that KTM has already gone through the trouble of installing this software on your bike from the factory. By going through the trouble of putting it on the bike and absorbing the labor and technological costs to do so. So one could think that KTM's already made profit on the sale of the bike, and this extra $800 is just gravy in their back pocket, and they're holding the greatest technological features of this motorcycle hostage behind a paywall. That doesn't sound good. Because I think I speak for everyone when I say in this day and age, we are tired of getting cheesed with these microtransactions. I brought up a company like Spirit Airlines in my last video. Yes, you pay a much lower fare than other airlines to take the flight, but you pay an extra fee to check in your bags. You pay a fee for pre-boarding, an additional fee if you want a seat towards the front. It's $4 for a glass of water, and for the entire duration of your 4-hour flight, you're being constantly sales pitched on credit card offers and frequent flyer mile programs. And by the time you've reached your destination, you've spent twice as much to take that flight than if you would have just purchased an overpriced ticket from a premium carrier. I had a similar experience when I recently purchased my new iPhone. The phone cost me $1,150, but I had to spend an additional $45 if I wanted them to throw in a charging device. It's those types of business practices that's got us all unhinged in society right now. So I believe that the origin of anger and frustration amongst riders is that KTM is loaning you something, then taking it away. You see, KTM has already done this in the past with the 790 Adventure and the previous 890 Adventures prior to 2023. You had the option when you purchased the bike from the start to buy the tech pack or not. They never gave you that service or those software enhancements to use for any trial. You either chose at that time to put it on the bike or not. So by giving you something, then taking it away creates a major pain point for consumers. And while KTM is precedented on this issue, most of the other motorcycle manufacturers are doing a version of the same thing already and have been. The only difference is they're doing it in separate bikes. What comes to mind first is my Tiger 800. I bought the Tiger 800 XCX model, which is a step down from the premium XCA model. Now there are a few cosmetic differences, but the main software differences is that the premium XCA version offers an off-road dedicated riding mode plus a customizable riding mode. For those additional riding modes plus the heated seats, pegs, and a couple other cosmetic differences, the price change is roughly $1,500 more. So I made the decision that I didn't need those modes at the time and I would just save the $1,500 and modify the bike myself. But see, I knew that going into the purchase. Now, if Triumph would have gave me those features on the bike, then disabled them, then made me go back down to the dealership and pay $1,500 to get that stuff back onto my bike, I don't know if I would feel good about that. So I think in this case, it would have been better for KTM to make two separate Adventure R bikes, one without electronics and one with electronics, and allow the consumer to decide. Now, they did make the 890 Adventure base model, and I'm not sure it's going to be available in 2023 because I haven't seen any information on it yet, but that bike was entirely different and not an R version. But I think KTM, at least from a public relations perspective and a consumer-oriented perspective, would have been better off with splitting these up into two bikes. Now, maybe they chose not to do this for cost-cutting measures, but I don't know the answer to that question. I had some other questions about the demo mode that I asked for clarity from KTM. One of those was, how do these services actually shut themselves off? Is this an immediate and abrupt shut off as soon as you hit this mileage, it's done? Or does it come about a different way? For example, let's say that you are using the cruise control going down the freeway and then you hit 932 miles or so. Does it immediately shut your bike off, possibly creating a safety situation? So I was told that these services disengage once you stop the bike and turn it off. Then I asked if there was any way by disabling this that it could cause any type of software glitch and possibly leave you stranded somewhere. Now obviously I was assured that something like this wouldn't happen, but I had to ask because I did see some forum posts before and a few videos that mentioned that dealers from time to time have screwed up the electronical packages on these older KTMs. Now, how they've done that, I don't have the answer to it, but I guess if you're going to go through this issue, you might want to double check your dealer's work. However, there is one amazing thing that I uncovered during this great conversation that no matter who you are or what side of the fence you may be standing on, you're going to love to hear this, and that is, it is not a subscription service. Now I'm kind of wondering, where did that come from? Because I actually mentioned it in my last video. Now I'm wondering, where did I come up with this? How did this whole thing get started? Maybe we all kind of got caught up into it, jumped the gun emotionally, and started saying some things that may have been incorrect. So I have been told this is just a one-time fee and there are no subscription services. And at this time, KTM has no intentions of ever making it that way. So that's some good news. So let's look at it this way. If you're shopping for a KTM Adventure R, you know what you're buying. You're buying a high-performance, hardcore adventure motorcycle. So if that's your motive, then you should do it right and just factor in the $800 software enhancement cost as a must-do purchase, because this bike is made to function at its highest level with those software enhancements on it. So it seems pointless to shell out $14,500 for the bike and then just skimp on $800 in modes. So just think, it's a $15,100 motorcycle. Now, KTM should have known this because they pride themselves as a ready-to-race hardcore motorcycle brand. So why bother offering it as an add-on in the first place? Just leave it on the bike, jack up the price by the $800 and make us all take it that way. I think it's better for everybody if that's the way this was presented to us. You can also just look at this $800 as a modification that you're making to your bike, because most people who buy this, honestly, they're going to spend the $14,000 or $15,000 for it, and then they're going to immediately order $1,000 worth of aftermarket exhausts and other aluminum trick bits for the bike as soon as they get it. So if we look at this as a $15,100 United States motorcycle that is fully loaded, where does that put KTM amongst the rest of its competition? So there's a lot of competition right now in the so-called middleweight adventure bike space. I use the word so-called because, let's be honest, they're really not that middleweight at all. They're still very heavy motorcycles that have limitations off-road. So unless you're Chris Birch or Paul Torres, you're going to have some limitations with these bikes off-road. But three brands come to mind that offer you the same type of package, a capable off-road motorcycle for most people that is at least within the same weight realm as the KTM. And that would be the Yamaha Tenere 7 and the upcoming World Raid, the Aprilia Touareg 660, and perhaps Ducati's new Desert X. So we can begin with the most obvious out of this group, the Yamaha Tenere 700, a very popular bike that is supposed to be retailing for $10,200. I put the highlighted accent on there and some air quotes around supposed to because in past videos, I have expressed my frustration with this bike because at one time I really wanted to own a Tenere 7, but here in the Western United States, I know it's different everywhere, but I'd say the entire West Coast, it is impossible to get a Tenere 700, even used with several thousand miles on it, for anywhere near $10,200. The bike is in such high demand, the dealership may have 4 or 5 of them on the floor, but they're going to charge you a markup of roughly $1,500 to $2,000. Then you have to pay dealer setup, you have to pay the docks, the tax, and all that good stuff. And before you're done, this basic motorcycle that was supposed to retail at $10,200 is now sitting out the door at $14,500 to $15,000. Now that may differ in your area, so I can't say that that's a norm everywhere, but even if we were to go several thousand miles to pick one up, we still have to factor in that cost. So I don't know, maybe for the sake of some drama, we should be angry with Yamaha for not making some more of these and causing some supply chain crunch or getting us all into this position where this bike is in such high demand. But that's a completely different topic, which brings me to the World Raid, which is supposed to retail for $14,000. That number means nothing to me because I would consider it to be the same type of process to where it's probably going to be $17,000 to $18,000 to get out the door. Now, what do you get with that bike? We all know that the Yamaha Tenere 7 is a bulletproof, well-built motorcycle, but it's absent of electronics. Now, the engine is so well built that you could make the claim, hey, I don't want electronics, and we've heard that from many riders. I'd rather not have electronics. I don't want one more thing to break. I like it just basic, and I like Yamaha for being basic, and that was my initial attraction to the motorcycle because I'm not necessarily a big fan of all of this high tech. But I am a fan of cruise control, and the Tenere doesn't even have that. So it's just basic, and you're looking at probably $14,000 minimum just to buy one these days. Now, when you look at the World Raid, which will probably cost someone $17,000 for the first run of these out the door from the dealership, that doesn't have electronics on it either. It just has three-way switchable ABS, a bigger gas tank, a better suspension system than the original T7, and a more aesthetically pleasing TFT display. Still, I estimate you'll be spending almost $17,000 for a bike that does not have electronics. Now, if we look at the Ducati Desert X, it has the horsepower to match, but there's not enough testing I have seen so far for us to really get a good comparison of how this thing really works off-road. But even if it matches the KTM, the starting price of this one almost tips the scales at $17,000. So that's significantly more than KTM's price, even with the demo mode already installed. And last, you have the all-new Aprilia Touareg 660, which in my opinion was more of a competitor to the T7 by giving you a budget-friendly, or at least in this environment, budget as something can be, with a host of electronics. And roughly at about $12,500 to $13,000, this is probably the best value out of all of them because it's budget-friendly, it's pretty good on the road, it's pretty good off of the road, and you have all of the important creature comfort electronics. And unlike the Tenere 700, there is a plethora of Aprilia Touaregs at dealerships here. Now, I don't know if Aprilia overbuilt these in anticipation they were going to sell like hotcakes, or nobody wants it because it has an Aprilia sticker on the side of it, but you can easily get out the door, at least here on the West Coast, for roughly $13,500 for a brand new Touareg. So budget-wise, that's the best one here. But having said all of that, none of these are really competitors towards the KTM 890. It's actually in a class of its own. It's the fastest, it's the strongest, it has the best suspension, and with the demo mode, it does have the best electronical package that is available on most adventure bikes. Now, you definitely have others like the BMW, the Triumphs, the Africa Twins, and those kind of bikes, but they're not the same as the KTM. So when you do look at it that way, it changes a little bit, because for $15,100 United States dollars, you're getting a dominant adventure bike with the most sophisticated electronical package available, and that's probably the best deal going. While that's still expensive, under today's day and age, you have to say that's a pretty fair price for what you're getting. So if you want this bike, I would look at it as a package deal. You have to get the demo mode to make this bike work at its highest level of capability, because that's why you're going to buy a KTM in the first place. Now, this doesn't excuse KTM for their stupidity or their marketing ploy of trying to give you something free and taking it back. That's kind of cheesy and stupid. They should have just made this all-in-one motorcycle, and if they did, I believe the reaction would be a lot better than it is right now. So under the circumstances, it's still the best middleweight adventure bike that you can buy. I said the best that you can buy with the best technology, but I didn't mention anything about the most reliable, which is always an issue that comes up with KTM, but we don't have time in this video to go down that road. So in closing, goons and gals, there are your facts. All the demo mode is just an add-on of software that's already built on the bike that KTM should have had the fortitude to just bake into the price and charge us $15,100 for, and maybe people wouldn't be so angry with them. Luckily, it is not a subscription service, and it never will be. It just appears to be a dumb marketing mistake from KTM. You live and you learn, I guess. But as I said in the beginning, goons and gals, I'm not here to spew my opinions, just lay out the facts, and now you have them. Which brings me to my final statement that I promised you in the beginning that I had something special for all of you at the very end, and here it is. I was told that this entire hoopla about the demo mode actually falls on the lap of the dealership you choose. You can have this negotiated into the price when you buy the bike. Your dealership has the power to comp this service to you if they choose to do so, or finagle their numbers any way they see fit. So basically, you have the power to negotiate when you buy this bike. So depending on your negotiating skills, how many of these are sitting around on dealership floors, the aggressiveness of your dealer to move product could play a vital role in whether you ever pay for this or not. And on that note, how about a big round of applause for good negotiating tactics? Remember, don't get angry. You are the one that has the power. You have the power to take your business elsewhere. Anyway, goons and gals, I want to thank you very much for watching this video. What I would like for you is to hear your side of the story. Remember, as I said in the beginning, everybody has a voice at the House of the Goon, and I'm interested to hear your side of the story. Until the next video, thank you very much for watching, and remember, everything that I said in today's video is just my opinion only, and I could be wrong.